Hi, everyone. I filmed and edited and was in the middle of posting this video about the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni sexual harassment lawsuit yesterday. And I pushed stop because I felt like it was missing something really important. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of my thoughts on the Blake and Justin situation, as well as some of my own very raw, very personal experiences. I have been the victim of sexual harassment and assault, as well as other things like stalking and coercion throughout my life. And as I had my headphones on and was listening back that one last time before it uploaded, I realized that something really important was missing. I realized that a lot of the men in my stories have never actually heard from me about how what they did impacted me. Now, some of them have. I've actually sent emails and had conversations with my married Mormon divorce attorney who aggressively sexually harassed me during my divorce. I've had to write down some of my thoughts and feelings in official complaints. But for the most part, the men who have left a lasting impact on me with their behaviors have not thought about me once and have no idea that I was impacted in the way that I was. So here's what I'd like to add. I'd like to add a little message right up front to the men who do this to women. I grew up in a very patriarchal system with men in leadership and me just being kind of a background character. I was born blonde-haired, blue-eyed. My adult weight was 106 pounds with a double D verging on triple D bra, and I just happen to have kind of a sparkly personality. And that was just the perfect recipe to make me prey. I guess add to that the fact that I was poor and very sheltered by my religion. And I was trying to operate in this world full of men, expecting the same respect that I gave to the men. And rarely have I ever gotten it. Men, what you don't realize is that when we let you into our space, we do so at great risk to ourselves. I had much greater risk of dying at the hands of my intimate partner during my pregnancies than I did in actual childbirth. We're not ever safe when we engage in you, but we have to. And we do. And when we do, we are giving you a level of trust that men in general have not earned and statistically do not deserve. When I am at a business function, when I give a man my phone number because we're doing a podcast, when I have a neighbor who is a male, and I give you any little wiggle room to come inside of my personal space, I am in that moment setting very solid boundaries. You only have permission to go as far as I have given you permission to go. If I have given you my phone number so that you can contact me about being on your podcast, that is the only use of my phone number. I do not expect to be laying in bed with my partner at midnight getting boudoir photos of your hairy chest. And no, it's not a compliment if you go a little bit further and tell us that you're attracted to us. We don't live for male attraction. In fact, that male attraction has caused more harm for women than, again, almost anything else in the entire world. And when you overstep those boundaries and sexually harass and stalk and terrorize, whether your behavior is just a little small act or something great big, you're not only harming our relationship, but you're harming my ability as a woman to function in this world of men that I have to function in for my survival. And that is no longer acceptable. We as women will be putting all of you on blast every time it happens, because it does end with us. And I hope that it ends with you.
And then let's just do one almost that's super close.
Yeah.
Can you guys frame up on the Sebastian and you? We'll just do like our lips are right next to each other. Cool.
But I think I should start talking.
Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then it... Don't give it to him.
You're annoying today.
I'm probably getting spray paint on audio.
Well, scared.
Well, it's not that. It's my body makeup. Could show and not be like a phone. So,
all right, cut. We got plenty.
But I am sure all of you ladies have watched this video that Justin Baldoni's people released yesterday at least a dozen times, thinking to yourself, would I feel like I was sexually harassed if I was in this exact scenario? Is there case for a lawsuit. If you're new here, I'm Jenny Gage, and this is Life Take 2, where I share my escape from Mormon trad wife life. I would absolutely love to hear first and foremost from you about your take on this video. Justin's people have released this saying, see, there is absolutely no sexual harassment going on. Blake is blowing things out of proportion. They shoot this scene. Everything is fine. She's fine. It's all very professional. There's lots of people around, and they walk away like everything is fine. And then months later, along comes a sexual harassment lawsuit. I would love to hear what you think. If you were Blake Lively, standing there in that moment, would you feel that there was something inappropriate? Let me tell you what I think and why I feel this way. I 100% think that it was intended inappropriately by Justin Baldoni, and that if I were Blake Lively, that I would have had the ick too, based on just two little phrases that happened in here. When he leans in and says, am I going to get beard on you again today? And then when she says something about, well, I'm going to get my sunless tanner on you, when he says, that's okay, it smells nice. And then like a few seconds later, he does the whole like rub his hand over her hair, pull her in close, very intimate. That to me would feel like sexual harassment. It would feel like something personal and intimate that was no longer professional. And I agree that it is sexual harassment. I'd like to dive for just a minute into sexual harassment gray areas, things that may not be in your HR manual, but that are inappropriate and that just need to stop, that shouldn't be happening to women ever. When I had my first real job after being a stay-at-home mom, then I had a little mini training class into sexual harassment. Things like don't comment on personal appearance, don't ask for a date, don't engage in any type of romantic conversations or behaviors or flirting, and then the obvious things like talking about genitals and sex. Don't share nude photos with the other teachers at the elementary school. Everything seemed fairly obvious. I work as a windshield sales rep, so I'm going into tire shops and repair facilities, and let me give you a couple of examples. I walked into a tire shop one day, huge tire shop, Phoenix, Arizona, nationally known brand. And the manager who sent me windshield referrals frequently and who I, up to this point, had had a fairly professional relationship with, and who I had never given any indication that I was interested in him or would be open to this type of engagement at all. After going in and dropping off a new stack of business cards and delivering some breakfast, because they had brought me so much business the past couple of weeks, I would love to say this guy's name and I would love to name the brand, but I try to avoid lawsuits. As I was walking back towards my car, my phone dinged and I had a text from him. He said, every single guy in the shop had a hard-on as you walked through in those high heels with your little windshield company shirt on. He said, turn around and look over your shoulder. We're still saluting you. I had another customer who owned a Mercedes repair shop, and I had to hand deliver a paper invoice for one of the customers whose windshields we were replacing in shop on a Saturday morning, which was not a typical workday for me. As a single mom, I had my kids, and I also wasn't dressed for work. What I was wearing was just a pair of regular old black leggings, nothing exciting, and some type of a hoodie like I'm always wearing, and a pair of Nikes. Now, the leggings were leggings. They were somewhat tight. They were leggings. Ran into the shop, dropped off the invoice, and went back out and got in my car, where my 8-year-old son was sitting in the front seat of my Mercedes. My phone was on the little vent clip facing me. And as I pulled out of that parking lot early on a Saturday morning with my child sitting in the front seat, I started to get full naked pictures of this shop owner to my phone. I had never in any of my interactions with him ever done anything that would indicate to him that I would be open to such an exchange. And I think the only reason he did that morning was that there was nobody else in the shop. He had come in early to open up and was all alone. After the 7 full naked pictures opened up on my phone, he told me that he wanted me to come spend the next weekend with him and named a couple things that he wanted to do to me, and then wrapped it up with, those leggings you had on just drove me absolutely crazy. This interchange would impact my ability to provide for my children, as this shop owner was one of my customers who brought me quite a bit of business. My company owners did come to bat for me on this, contacting him and telling this man to never treat one of their sales reps like this again. This, of course, is the biggest problem with sexual harassment and one of the main reasons why it's illegal. As a woman, if I speak up about something that a man is doing to me that's making me uncomfortable, then I lose money. It impacts my ability to feed my kids. One of my worst experiences with sexual harassment was during my divorce. Following my very first divorce hearing, where I was trying to get free from 24 years of domestic violence and end a marriage with a monster, as my attorney and I were walking our separate ways out to the parking lot, far away from one another. And I was already feeling very rattled. Again, this was the end of a 24-year marriage. This was my very first divorce hearing. I was there alone. I didn't have anybody with me. I was going through so many hard things. Within 2 months, I would try to end my life, thus the life take two. And my phone went ding, and I looked down, and it was my divorce attorney saying, "That snakeskin skirt that you have on is the sexiest thing I've ever seen, blah, blah, something. You are the most attractive client that I've ever worked with." And it was all I could do to sit in that chair during the hearing. I felt like I was crawling out of my skin. By the way, I didn't reply to his text. I sat in my car and just cried my eyes out. He would ramp up his sexual harassment, at one point feeling free to talk to me about my breasts. It was a terrible situation. My mental health was rock bottom at that point, and I was unable to fire him and seek other counsel because I needed this divorce to hurry up. I would eventually become homeless, and I couldn't mess things up by switching attorneys, nor did I have the money to pay another retainer on somebody. So again, I was financially coerced to be in a situation that was extremely heartbreaking and uncomfortable for me. And by the way, I did eventually, once my divorce was over, just about 2 years ago, file an official complaint against my low-life scumbag of a married Mormon divorce attorney with the Arizona State Bar. He was officially reprimanded. He was not debarred. So obviously, these are all examples of very cut and dry, black and white sexual harassment. But I have to say that some of those gray area things that have happened have bothered me far more than these. I was at a recent business mixer for my windshield company in my hometown, and an older man who I was introducing myself to in the hopes of getting some windshield business looked me up and down, held my hand a little bit too long when he shook it, and just simply with kind of a crooked smile said, "God." There were all kinds of people in that room, and I guarantee that none of them looked at us and were like, "Oh, this guy's being a creeper." But I walked away, ripped his card up, threw it in the garbage, and I felt sexually harassed. I recently recorded a podcast with another ex-Mormon creator. I had asked the person who had organized this collaboration to share my cell phone number with him so that we could touch bases on tech and stuff before the recording. After we recorded the show, he began to text me nonstop, personal things, like we were suddenly best friends. I replied here and there, maybe at a ratio of 1 to every 20 of his texts. He texted me all day, every day for weeks. And then he mentioned to me that he was having a professional photo shoot done for his podcast and said, "I can't wait to share the photos with you." Again, assuming a level of intimacy that absolutely should not have been there. And then one night, while I was in bed with my partner, Kevin, who I have been committed to for the past 5 years, my phone went ding, and I began receiving photos of this man in his underwear, shirtless, in all of these different, somewhat provocative, but in a weird 1950s retro sort of way, poses. Whoever did this photo shoot with him took hundreds of pictures. And he began to send me photo after photo after photo. And it felt like an assault over the next week. It was the joke of me and Kevin. I'd be in the kitchen cooking dinner. I'd have my phone propped up, listening to an Audible book or whatever. And ding, here would be another photo in a different position, and getting a little bit more and more provocative as they went along. Kevin and I were out to dinner with friends on a date. Ding, 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 ding. This creator called the photo shoot boudoir, like boudoir. And again, they were just over the top, completely suggestive. I would love to show you a couple examples, but again, I live my life in such a way so as never to get sued by anybody, and this would probably be a lawsuit right out the gate. If it ever had come to a lawsuit, then I'm sure that this creator, to defend himself, would release screenshots of the text where he asked me, "Can I send you photos?" And I said yes, not knowing that he planned to objectify me. And it may seem like such a little thing, but to this day, I'm no longer comfortable doing podcasts with anyone in the ex-Mormon community. I'm no longer comfortable putting ex-Mormon videos up on TikTok. And once again, that is impacting my ability to make money for my family as a woman working in a world with men. Here's the Jenny final word on this topic. I absolutely believe that Justin was assuming intimacy and making Blake feel uncomfortable with the two little phrases, "I'm going to get some beard on you today," which sounds like something sexy that like I would want Kevin to say to me under the sheets. And then when he said, "Your sunless tanner smells good." What I wish that Justin Baldoni and the guys at the tire shop and my divorce attorney and the ex-mo boudoir with the grossest pictures that I've ever seen in my entire life could see, it's that we as women want to exist and operate in this world not as objects for you to potentially take to bed, but just as equals. It's not a compliment to tell us that we're desirable when we don't want to be desired. My sunless tanner doesn't smell good. You're not getting beard on me. Just shoot the damn scene. We're not over here doing it all for the male gaze. It's just as simple as that. Thanks for watching. Please tell me your thoughts in the comments.